Hello and welcome to the Watkins Museum virtual programming. Today we're talking about telling our story. The printed word has served as a way to tell stories since the 1440s when Gutenberg invented the printing press. And it was an important part of culture throughout Lawrence's history. To my right is a printing press from the 1850s that is actually broken. It was broken on purpose because when Lawrence was sacked, one of the first things they attacked was the printing press, the newspaper, because they didn't want information to get out, which proves the power of the printed word. We're going to talk a little bit more about the printed word and how spreading ideas is so important to creating community and building our history. The printing press was a very interesting piece of technology, and it was very complicated but simplified the process of creating written text. So we have our friend Griffin here today, and he's going to tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so as we had just learned, the printing press was a really important way of spreading information. So now we're going to take a little bit of a deeper look and see how the printing press worked. This press would have been used in the 1800s to create newspapers and pamphlets during Bleeding Kansas. The process they would use is first they'd take metal letters and lay them out to create the document they wanted to print. Then they would take ink and roll it over and then take the paper and press.
And wouldn't they have to put the letters backwards so that it was a mirror image?
Yes.
That would have been hard to read backwards. And I know that we all know what newspapers are, but pamphlets are different. Pamphlets were like little booklets where people would write their ideas to spread their ideas, and then they would spread them around. And they were often called editorial because they were ideas. And they were important to share things that were going on and what different important people thought. But a lot of important ideas have been spread from Lawrence. Let's talk about another incredible writer who grew up here, who spread important ideas.
Printing has a long legacy in Lawrence, Kansas. And a lot of the important papers written in Lawrence, Kansas, as Griffin was talking about, informed the entire country about the Civil War. But another important writer that lived in Lawrence, he did not write very much when he was in Lawrence because he was a young boy, but Langston Hughes was an amazing poet who worked during the Harlem Renaissance. He was also a playwright and an essayist. He wrote about issues of his time as far as who he could love and how he was represented and his culture was represented. His written word really changed a lot of people's opinions about the world around them. The written word is very important, and what you have to say is important. The Liberty Press was a publication out of Wichita that was started to support the LGBTQIA community. And it was served as a place with resources and safe places to stay, information, and different things that people could use to take care of themselves in the community. It also spread incredible ideas about equality and understanding. I think that it's very interesting because it was self-published by people for people. It's a great example of what the written word can do to create change. Now, there is another kind of creation that's an ad hoc publication that you can create by yourself that's called a zine. Before the internet, there were different publications that were created by people and then just copied on Xerox machines. I made an example of one today, and I'm going to teach you how to. For this craft, what you will need is regular printing paper, anything you want to draw with, crayons, pencils, pens, or colored pencils, anything you want, a glue stick if you want a collage, and scissors. This is a very simple technique to create a zine. What you will do is you will fold your paper hamburger style. This is a lot like origami. We're creating lines so that later the folds will be kept when we create our book. you'll fold it hamburger style again. Try and line up your corners as best as possible so that it creates a clean finish once you're done. Then we'll do it one more time, so that's 3 hamburger style. We call it hamburger style because it's the wide way instead of the skinny way, which I call hot dog style. Then you'll open that up so that you just have the one fold. And you'll make sure that the folded edge is facing you. With your scissors, you will cut halfway, right to this point. It's very important to try and stay straight on that line and only go to that point. Now this is the magical tricky part. You'll take your paper, you'll fold this part halfway up. Then you'll flatten it out. Once you do that, you'll fold it this way and it creates sort of a star shape. Once you do that, you flatten it out again, and then you fold it like this, and you've created a book. Zines have been used to say many things over the last 80 years, but I wanted my zine to talk about what we learned today. Ellie is the electric car here at the museum, and she's asking what a zine is. I took my printout of Ellie and I cut her out, and then I glued her onto my book. I like using collage. I found a different image of a printing press, and I wrote about Gutenberg and what we learned about him. I also talked about pamphlets and how we used pamphlets during different times and printed word to spread information with the printing press. Then there's Mr. Langston Hughes, who grew up in Lawrence, and he used the printed word to make change and share his voice with the world. How do you make a zine? Well, it'll remind you right here. And zines are wonderful because we create them this special way so that you can unfold them and make as many copies on a Xerox machine as you'd like. I made a lot of copies of mine, and now all I have to do is fold it up, make a cut, and I can have as many as I want and spread information all over to all of my friends. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. I really hope that you enjoyed learning all about the written word and how to spread your ideas. Now that you've learned how to make zines, you can create as many different ideations as you want. I hope that you create many and scan them in and email them to me at aburkhart@watkinsmuseum.org. I cannot wait to see them. And please come back next month for our next digital lesson. Thanks a lot. Bye.